Well, as you're leading this crisis, do any of you sit down or have a pre-established model or pre-established principles that you follow to make sure that your decisions are ethically based, that they are the right decisions and for the right reasons? Or is it just one of those things you just kind of take on the fly as the crisis presents itself? Chief?
Yeah, I think I don't have a template that I would check anything. I think that you know how it feels to you. If you can stand up in front of everybody that you know and care about and say what you're going to say and be able to defend that 2 weeks or a year from now, as well as having sat down with your command staff or the officer in the field and bounced that off them, here's the direction I'm going, and that you're comfortable all around that you did the right thing for the right reasons, even if it's not politically real popular, I would say that you're probably in pretty good shape.
Thank you. Doctor?
There's a saying that, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably, isn't. And if it sounds wrong, it probably is wrong. And that's where having a group of trusted advisors around you when you're making a decision where there's some sort of ethical component, getting the feedback, looking around the room, you ought to be able to tell, see in the body language in the eyes of your trusted people that we shouldn't be going there. That's really crossing the line. Hopefully by the time you get to real important leadership positions in your organization, you've already been tested on your ethics. That's not always going to be the case, but hopefully that will be the case. But it's not a checklist sort of a thing like, oh, we need to do these 10 things to get the command post sent up. It's something a lot different than that. If you have codes of conduct in your organization, and many do, if you have ethical codes, those sorts of things, certainly you should have that type of training. If you don't, we thought when I got to the Catholic Church, for example, that everybody kind of understood what the boundaries were with regard to interaction between clergy and children. Actually, it wasn't the case. It wasn't written out, and so that needed to be done. So ethical training often needs to be done.
Colleen, did you have anything to add to that?
I think it's holding yourself accountable to the values that are established in your organization. If they are not akin to your personal values, at some point it will eke out in misconduct or it will eke out in corruption. Typically, most people get into positions of leadership if they come up through the organization, they've demonstrated their commitment, the values are aligned. It starts kind of at the beginning when you're looking at who you hire into the department, how you hold the workforce accountable, being consistent in that, the disciplinary process, the corrective action plans that you put together for people who are starting to stray. A mission drift, values drift can be very, very damaging to the organization unless it's caught quickly. I think one of the things that we keep reading about at Penn State is what happened there was their values drift, was their mission drift, and probably years from now, many of us will go to school on what happened there. It's happened, in many places that we can see, and it does start many times at the top. Even to the point of behavior, a check on people's behavior. I learned just a valuable lesson that I carried with me in my pocket, close to my heart when I was chief, from an individual who is here today. And it talked about when a person was disciplined in the organization, and they were, maybe they got a suspension, maybe you tried to fire the person, they got their job back through arbitration perhaps, nobody's happy about their coming back potentially, worried about their future behavior, etc. But since the person is coming back, how do you treat that person when they come back? Do you treat them as an outcast? Do you apply the ethics and values on how you treat everyone professionally? Maybe they're coming back with this little cloud, but maybe that person can be restored back into the organization. You've invested money and training. The person did a lot of good work up to them. And where it starts to drift is when you sit in meetings and you hear people throw little, the guy's a knucklehead, or he'll never be much of anything anyway. We got to watch him. Next time we got to fire him. Those kinds of behaviors do not align with your values. They don't align with professional conversation or conduct. They have to be put in check, nipped in the bud, and hold people accountable. And that's what I think makes the difference. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. But the stray from values can be very, very devastating. And it happens in the blink of an eye.